Today we got the founder, CEO of Kinnon Entertainment. He's worked on many concert productions for Vanilla Ice, Salt and Pepper, Coolio, Young MC, Naughty by Nature, many more. He's worked all over the world, and recently he worked with Major League Baseball. And a few years ago he started AnywhereCam. It's video surveillance for remote locations. We hit on a lot of topics. One of the biggest one is how to have the right team and how to be able to build the right team. Let's welcome Mike Blecha to the show. AnywhereCam. How is AnywhereCam stay competitive, like in the industry compared to, because there's a bunch of cameras out there that do kind of similar service, but what makes AnywhereCam better?
Yeah, well, we're learning. We're pretty new in the industry and pretty new to having real competition on a national level. So we're seeing that since the start, I wanted to create AnywhereCam to be an easy product that people that aren't super tech savvy can use. It's just kind of our market. People that are in downtown Manhattan are more tech savvy than people in the middle of Wyoming, just like the nature of the beast. So I had to come up with a really easy way, and that's where I feel AnywhereCam succeeds, is we're easy to use, and we have a great product that anyone can figure out how to use and keep an eye on their stuff.
The things that it kind of makes it like you're relatable to it because like Eastern Colorado, like the struggles of the stuff out here. So you're kind of talking their same language. You're like, yeah, I know you're probably thinking that you want one on a sprinkler head or on a shop or whatever it is.
Yeah, we have one competitor that has a great product, but they're not even based in the United States, and their customer service is in the Philippines. And so you're trying to mount a camera on a sprinkler pivot in the middle of a cornfield, and you call somebody in the Philippines and be like, why would you want to keep an eye on a cornfield? Well, we understand that. And we really like connecting with our customers. I'm going to be really firm on making sure that as we grow, we still stay that way. So no robots answering the phones, real people answering the phones. Yeah, or it's a robot that has been in a cornfield. No, I started this company from trying to solve a problem for my buddy Philip that lives out by Akron. He has a bunch of farmland. He needed to keep an eye on it. We couldn't figure out anything that was off the shelf at that point to meet his needs because he didn't have high-speed internet, and he didn't have power in most of those locations. So it was really created to solve a problem, and it's a problem that millions of people have. I think there's almost 2 million farms in the U.S. alone, and most of them probably don't have high-speed internet or power in a lot of the locations that they would want to put a camera. Yeah, everyone has it in their house these days, especially with Starlink, and you can get internet almost anywhere, but cell phone signal is almost everywhere, and that's what our cameras use. And so it's a great step to being able to put a camera anywhere you want it.
I want to go back to a little bit to where, because this is your, like, you've been an entrepreneur since you were young.
Right.
So you've had Kinnon Entertainment for 15 years. So you're still managing that. How do you balance being able to manage that and like this business, because you're traveling a lot? Like, how important is it for you guys to like having that team to be able to do stuff? Because for us, like, if we're out doing video shoots, like, then that means no one's editing.
Right.
And we ran into that problem, so we're like, oh shit, we need to hire editors, or we need to hire a team to start taking care of that stuff.
Right.
So how important is it for you guys to kind of have, for you specifically, to be able to do that?
Well, building the right team for both companies was crucial, and I identified that in the beginning of 2023. We're in 24, right? Yeah. So in 23, the concert company has actually more than doubled since before the pandemic. So that was growing drastically around 22. It really started to get big. 23, we had a really big year we were looking at. And at the same time, I had already put 2.5 years into the camera company. I wasn't going to just bail on that. So I had just always focused on having really great people on my team. And so in 23, I kind of organized the way I did Kinnon Entertainment, and I made it, and it was probably the best decision. I made it not just Mike Blecha in his mind, and I didn't oversee everything. I have a great team of managers that manage everything from advancing the technical details to running the Grizzly Rose to managing the warehouse. And then my wife actually does all the administration and accounting and everything. So we have a really good team on that side. And then as I was building AnywhereCam, last August, Dan Lane came on board, and he's my partner in crime at AnywhereCam. And that's just really changed the dynamic there because he brought a bunch of complementing skills to the table, things that I didn't even know I wasn't doing or was doing wrong. And so having that team, I've got a great customer service agent, Zach. There was another local Fort Morganite, Noah, that he's off in school right now, but he said he's coming back to the company, and I think the world of him as well. And so just having a great team in both those companies makes it so I can oversee both of them. And I feel really confident about the growth of both of those.
Hey guys, let's take a quick break from the podcast. We want to help business owners just like you stay competitive in today's marketplace. So for a limited time, we're giving you 10% off your next video project, whether it's a brand video, social media content, or ads. Just mention this podcast to get started. Let's get back to the show.
Was like that transition just pretty much like automatic, or was it like, let me kind of get Kinnon Entertainment kind of taken care of to open it up to other options?
Yeah, it was, I mean...
Because that's to be tough. I mean, because you guys are doing concerts all over the world, and you're like,
and like you
I'm
said,
the badass, I'm the guy to like kind of like
it.
hand it off to like other people take care of stuff.
Right.
I'm sure that has to be a little tough.
Well, the people that I handed off to at the time had all worked for me at Kinnon Entertainment on that side. I'll focus on that first. I knew that AnywhereCam could not grow to what I want to take it to without fixing Kinnon Entertainment first. And at the time, this is like 13 years into Kinnon Entertainment, I wasn't just going to close up shop. And I would do that for many, many reasons. But so I had a team of people. Some of them had worked for me for close to a decade. And so I was able to pick from them and say, oh, Kyle, who's our operations manager, Ron, who's our warehouse manager, and he does a lot of the install stuff for me. And at the time, a guy named Miles, he's a kid. He was like in his late 20s, but he'd worked for me for like three years, and just leaps and bounds every year. He just really had matured nicely. And so I said, all right, you three are going to be the management team of Kinnon. And I told him what it was for. I said, you guys know, because at the beginning it was very small, they would all help me with the cameras because I would be like, I had no employees. So I'd be like, hey, can you help me like pack some boxes? I mean, everyone, including my dad, at some point have helped install cameras or do stuff for AnywhereCam because it was just my labor of love over here, not generating any money, just costing a lot of money. And so we were trying to, do anything we could to keep it going and growing. And so all the people on Kinnon Entertainment knew that this was my new focus to develop this company. But I told them from day one, I'm not letting Kinnon slip. We've all worked way too long and hard on this. But I need you to step up so I can move over here. And it's going to be better for everyone. And so everyone jumped on board and did a really great job. And now, except for when it's busy or if I have a really, really big client with Kinnon, I have to fly out to do a show, it's really self-sustaining. They all do a great job at running that so I can focus 90% of my time over here on AnywhereCam.
How do you find those good people? Because managing people is a different animal for sure. Different than just running a business. If you're just running a business yourself, it's just you. You can control what you do and stuff. But then finding those good people to kind of have that work ethic to want to grow the business also is a little challenging. Yeah,
my one piece of advice is to never post for a job on Indeed. Like, I never have, I never will. Potentially with AnywhereCam, it's more of a corporate environment, but on the Kinnon Entertainment side, when that's your pedigree and your previous work experience doesn't really matter. You don't have to have a degree. Like, when you're producing concerts, it's a lot of work, long days. You really just have to have great people that care and give a damn about what they're doing, and a little bit of technical aptness. But that's the most important part. So if I said, hey guys, we're ramping up for a busy season, do you know anybody that's looking for a job? Oh yeah, I worked with this guy or this gal at a gig at this other venue. great. Bring him, let me interview him, let me talk to him. And so that's the number one thing is you cut out a lot of the crap by just having a personal reference. And then you can have your own interview and make sure that they have the credentials that they need if they need any, and then try them out I can look at a new hire and in less than 2 minutes I'll know if they're going to work or not on the crew, if they're going to work out. And
that's interesting though, like how you said, because usually if you tell like one of the people that work with you already, one of your team members, they kind of know how you are and stuff, so they're going to know like, yeah, I'm probably not going to tell this guy to come because he's not going to.
Right.
So they kind of, it's a little filtration system for you. So like, if they're bringing you somebody, they're going to try to bring you something that's decent.
Yeah, I can't tell somebody's attitude. Like when I look at a resume, be like, wow, this person knows how to mix a band or lighting or whatever it is. But I can't tell if he's like a bad person. Like if he's just a piece of crap, you can't tell that on a resume. You might be able to read through the lines and say, well, this dude had 10 jobs in the last 6 months, but you can't really tell. And so a personal rate, you're not going to bring me somebody to work with us on a gig that sucked on the last gig you were on. You're going to be like, no. And every once in a while, we had a guy that one of our longtime production managers, he lives in Kansas, but he works for us pretty often. He said, yeah, this other guy, he's great. I tour with him with his band. He's awesome. And he showed up, and I mean, I met him, and like I said, 2 minutes later, I'm like, that guy's never working for us again. And sure enough, after that gig, multiple employees were like, please never bring that guy back on. So you do have a mess up every once in a while. But, I think maybe touring, you get in a bus, you roll out, you go into the show, you go back, you roll back in the bus and go. That's how our employee knew this other guy.
Okay.
But then when you're in the thick of things and stuff's going wrong and you're pulling 18, 20-hour days and it's hot or it's cold or whatever, dirty, that guy just turned into kind of a worthless piece of crap. And so we're like, oh, he's not going to work out. But most of the time, employees will bring other employees that fit the culture of Kinnon Entertainment. And so that's how we've been really lucky to have a great team on there. Ron's been with us for 11 or 12 years. Kyle's been with me for almost a decade. He took a break during COVID. We just couldn't employ him. We only were able to keep like 3 or 4 guys on full time during the COVID. That's from when I did the Bullhucker. We named it the COVID. The COVID. We've had great. Like I said, Chelsea's been my wife for a couple of years, my best friend for 30 years, and so she takes care of all the administration stuff, and so I know that finance is administration, so that's all solid. And we just built this really great culture and it's part of the reason why I wouldn't ever shut down Kinnon Entertainment unless I absolutely had to for some reason. I would never do that because of A, my employees, and B, my customers. It's a very personable work, I guess, relationship that you have with these people. You travel all over with them. You go through a lot of bad times and good times. And I've become friends with most of my employees, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it just means that you like really care about them. That's what it comes down to. Like
right.
You really care about them. They say if you care about all that stuff, like the money will they'll start flowing in. It's just you just gotta.
It makes it tough sometimes because it's like if I didn't care, maybe I could probably like fire somebody that probably should be fired instead of giving him another chance. But I don't know, a little bit of compassion goes a long way. Then when you're dealing, like I'm sure that most of the people on our team never intend to screw up. I would hope that. Maybe sometimes they do, but I would hope they wouldn't. And so I try to think the same way. Like, okay, well, when they do screw up, hopefully it will treat as a learning lesson for the next time. So every once in a while it bites you in the ass, but I usually try to be less of a boss and more of just a human being with that person. Because I have bad days and I lose my shit and yell at somebody, and I don't want them to like quit right away just because I got mad one time, and so I don't want to fire somebody because they screwed up one time. Yeah. Try to think of it bi-directional.
Do you purposely like kind of put some like a little bit extra stuff on someone's plate, like when they're new or something, just to find out what kind of person they are, like if they are going to work out long term?
I wouldn't say put more stuff on their plate, but only self-motivated individuals can last at Kinnon Entertainment, because I'm not an overbearing boss. I don't have time to babysit you. I don't have time to hold your hand. So I'll know your skill set, and now like my managers know people's skill set usually, and hey, Monico, you're the A1 today. Here's what the band needs. Let's go. Let's move forward. And if you're just standing there twiddling your thumbs,
it's probably the last day you're
going to be that's not going to work out, because then that just pisses everybody else off on the crew, because they're all doing their job. So if you can't hold your own, you're out. But so I wouldn't say I put more on the plate. I did, on the manager side, a lot of times that's one thing I had trouble doing, was putting enough on people's plates. Even when I was starting to set up this manager tier, and I had the trouble of letting go, because I never had somebody I could trust that I could be like, all right, do A, B, and C and move on. I would be like, do A, B, and C, and I would like copy on every email and like respond in text like, hey, did you do this? Are you going to do that? And finally, nicely, someone said like, let me do my job. And I was like, oh, okay, well, if I can trust you, yeah, you can trust me. Okay, cool. Here, do A, B, and C, and it better be done, and it better be done right. And you know the way I want it done, and so do it. And if you have a better idea on how to do it, come talk to me about it so we can get on the same page and let's do it and move forward. And once I could do that with those managers, it was like the biggest weight lifted off my shoulders. I was like, wow, I can really go focus on AnywhereCam now, and I feel confident. And now it's on the flip side. Now I have to be like, Kyle, dude, if you're getting your ass kicked with some event and you need me to come in and help negotiate something or organize something, tell me. Like, bring me back into it, which is a good thing, because they think they can handle it, and that's very empowering to them and to me, because then I can go focus on AnywhereCam, and it's empowering to them because they know they have my trust, but it all comes down to that relationship. If they didn't, hopefully they all know that I care about them. If they didn't know that I cared about them on a personal level, then they might think twice before giving that extra 10%. And so it all comes down to relationships. Pretty much everything in life comes down to relationships,
And building that culture of like they feel comfortable enough to come to you with like a problem or anything.
Yeah.
Or like the culture that you expect them to take something over and just be self-motivated.
Right.
And
Own
those
it,
things.
because that we deal with problems all the time, insurance or financial or whatever, and we don't just dump that on our employees. It's our job to fix it as the owners, and then the manager's job to do their job. And so don't just come with me crying, like figure your problem out, and that's your job, and I'll do my job, and together it makes it a good culture.
Yeah, I'm curious to know. Kinnon Entertainment is Kinnon from your son, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you name it that? Because when you started Kinnon, you got a loan from your grandparents. Why did you have to attach, like, you personally, like, are you a person that you want to attach some like emotion, like, I got to make this shit work to do it, or why?
No, it wasn't that deep. It was that I needed a name to file taxes in, and I was like, I don't have a name, and I was like, well, I'm doing this to make a living so I can support my son, so I guess I'll just call it Kinnon Entertainment, which most of the time people think is my last name. All the time they're like, Mike Kinnon? And I'm like, no, it's my son's name. And it gets the whole thing. But, I mean, it means a lot now, and I think he'll be 20 next month, so he was 5 when I started it, and he's seen it grow, and he's been to 1 million concerts, and I know he's prideful of it. That's pretty cool that your dad would do that, but I can't honestly say that I had that big of a vision when I did it. I was like, I need something for the IRS. I don't know.
It's like, whatever, I'll just whatever.
Yeah, whatever. And now it's like on 1 million road cases and cables and shirts and trucks, and I swear I'm not drinking this.
Sure. Yeah, but that's what's interesting, and it's like, I think a lot of people when we start off are just like, just put your head down and just work. They're like, we'll see where it goes. A lot of people, sometimes they just flood themselves and drown themselves. Like, I need to have this perfect. Like, just freaking go. It might not even work out. Like, just start going, and we'll see what happens.
Well, I did that in Kinnon Entertainment, and then I started doing that in AnywhereCam, and there's every day I'm like, man, if I would have put this kind of focus and effort that I'm in AnywhereCam to Kinnon Entertainment, we'd be the biggest, production company in the world. But also on the flip side, a lot of things that I learned, what to do and what not to do in Kinnon Entertainment, I'm adapting that into AnywhereCam. And then, like I said, Dan came on board, and he's helped build companies. He's got an MBA. He's lived in Asia for 5 years. Like, he understands a lot of the things necessary to build an e-commerce and a brand, stuff that has nothing to do with Kinnon Entertainment. And so we really put our heads together and usually have an experience to pull from. One of us does. But there's a lot of things I'm like, wait, you're actually supposed to like budget forecast? And like, oh, I was just like, do I have money in the bank? Buy more speakers. Chris drives my wife nuts, I know. But so a lot of the things, I'm trying to kind of cross-pollinate a little bit and be like, oh, this worked at AnywhereCam. Maybe I should forecast 2025. So we're forecasting 2025. 15 years in business, we're doing our first financial forecast.
That's good, though. But I heard a guy the other day talking about it. He's like, your first million is going to be your hardest million. Yeah. Because it's not really, it's because all the shit you learned on the way. Yep. Because then to get you to the other one, like, oh, I already made this. You learned all these things, so like, don't do that. And it's like with business. If you have one business that you grew up like successful, like when you do your other ones, you already know what not to do.
100%. I don't know.
It's almost like a cheat code.
Yeah. Well, I like I said, every day I'm like, oh man, I could have like shaved 5 years off of the growth of Kinnon Entertainment if I would have just done this one basic thing. Or you should, all the time. So Dan probably thinks I'm a moron half the time. Like, what did I get myself into with this guy? Because I'm like, wait, what's that thing? What's a P&L? He's like, oh my gosh. So I'm not that dumb, but sometimes I feel like it because he went to college for business. He got a degree. He went to Shanghai University in China, got an MBA there, and then he helped multiple multi-million-dollar companies grow from like where we're at currently to like huge, and so like raising tens of millions of dollars, selling for hundreds of millions of dollars, being publicly traded, all these crazy things that I've never done, and he probably thinks it's nuts that he tells me like, wow, that's incredible that you got AnywhereCam this far. Just like, let's roll the dice, people.
Let's see what happens. But you kind of need that lucky sometimes, though. No,
yeah,
you just kind of need it like that. Mm-hmm. I call like that delusion. Yeah. Like to be like, let's see what happens and we'll go. Because then if you analyze everything, then it can be bad. But then you need that. That's where I think partnerships could be good, like with us too, because you need one person to balance it. He's like, whoa, have you thought about this? Yeah. And that's probably how Dan is with you. He's probably like, well, we should probably think about this before we just. And you're just like, fuck it, let's go.
I was crazy enough to be like, I think there's a problem. I'm gonna figure out how to solve it. I'm gonna put way too much time and money into it with absolutely zero like plans on where we're going. We just got to solve this problem. And now that we solved this problem, I want to solve it for everyone. And so bringing Dan in was great.
How was that dynamic when you guys first started? Because you're kind of just like, let's roll the dice on a whim, and he's probably more like, okay, let's kind of slow it down. Let's think about things. Was there
it took a minute. No, I don't think it was ever butting heads, but Dan's super passive guy. I mean, and he's really smart. Like, he thinks a lot. He always thinks before he does. I'm kind of the flip side sometimes. And it wasn't that it was bad. We didn't butt heads, but it took us a while to get our stride and to figure out, all right, what's your lane? What's my lane? When do we work together on something? When do we work separate? We're still figuring that out, but now it's he's only been in the company for full time for going on 14 months, so just about a year. But it was a good 6 months before. I would say it's probably February of last year that I felt like he was a true partner and a teammate. Up until then, he was trying to figure it out. His life had drastically changed from where he was at in his kind of posh corporate job into this, where it's like, are we going to make it or not? Like, are we ever sinking together? Or are we, swimming together?
That's the beautiful thing, I think, from like the difference from like a business owner just to like employee in a company. Because then your business owner is like, I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. We're about to find out.
Well, he's always had I would say a corporate job.
Yeah.
For a while, he was a consultant in China, and so he was self-employed at that point. I think it was maybe pretty briefly for like a year or two. But most of his life, so from when he was like 23 to 40, so the majority of his adult life, he's always worked for a corporate company. And I've never worked for a corporate company. But the last time I had a real job, I think it was 23. I think I put it in there like 2008. So whatever is that? So 24.
You're
22.
a tech, right?
I was a telephone technician. Yeah. Which is what my dad has done his entire adult life. And so like I said, yeah, we're so complimentary of each other because I wouldn't even think he'd be like, hey, so I did this report and I ran this analyzation. I did this when we talked to this guy and this person in the governor's office and blah, blah. And I'm like, how did you know how to do all that? And it's the same vice versa. I'm like, well, so I got this camera and now it does this. And we're working on now satellite connectivity and all that stuff. And he goes, how did you know how to do that? And so it's very complimentary because I know that I can trust him on that business stuff. He knows he can trust me on the tech stuff and some of the design stuff. And there's things that we can really check each other on. And it really brings it into the middle. It's not too far right or left. It's just usually a good combination.
I think that's one of the most important things to having a successful partnership. Just like knowing what each person's good at and kind of staying in each other's lanes and communicating with each other.
It's just like a good marriage, I think. If you guys are both the identical same person, it's not going to work. And if if you don't respect each other's differences and similarities and differences, it's not going to work. So you have to be different people, but have some sort of common bond and respect for each other's difference of opinion. So yeah, I've learned it's almost like he's basically my work wife.
How do you balance like your marriage? Like because your wife works in the business too with you, so it's like how do you balance that? Like those conversations and keeping it from like business, and then we're home like. Yeah, you seriously still mad because they take from the home to the.
That took a while. And it was not easy. Like we had some knockdown dragouts of like. But what we've learned is that it's that trust and respect factor. Like she knows how my mind works, and I know how her mind works most of the time. No offense, honey. But we actually, it's kind of wild how little we communicate because we've been doing it for so long, like, and we know each other really, really well. And so she knows how to, I guess, cultivate me as a business owner, and I'm still learning it, but I've less is more, like in my mind, I might be thinking about a concert, but she's thinking about, hey, like, what are we gonna do this weekend or something? And so having a real separation of church and state, or as far as work and personal life, is pretty key. I would say that, and just respect and trust. Like, I know she's always gonna have the books straight and the payroll made and the insurance done, and hopefully she knows I'm always gonna have like more gigs coming in and hiring new people, and so. But yeah, it was tough for a while. I mean, because we were friends at first, and so then you add the dynamic of a household and a blended family and finances and all this stuff. It's tough, but it also has its benefits because, like, I know I can always trust her, right? She's my wife. Like, who can you trust more than that when it comes to, like, taxes and finances and stuff, right? We're already connected on that on a personal level, and so it's really no different as long as we separate it. No work talk at the dinner table. We try to at that point just talk about family stuff, and
it might be good too because then she sees what like oh, we're going through a busy time. That's why he's like busy doing this other stuff.
Right.
So they kind of see this, or like, hey, money's tight right now, so it might be harder. Or money's really good, like, oh. Yeah. We got some time off. She knows the schedule. Like, oh, we can go take a weekend off or whatever it is, a vacation.
Also, one of the other things that really helped was she has her own business outside of Kinnon Entertainment that she's done great with. And
what does she do?
She owns a property management company. She manages like almost 150 doors in Morgan County alone. Okay. So everyone from investors that own multiple properties to somebody, if you bought a house and you wanted to rent it out, but you didn't want to deal with the finding the renters and the plumber when the toilet breaks or whatever. So she manages all individually owned properties and all in Morgan County. She's grown that about as long as maybe longer than Kinnon Entertainment. She's been doing that for a long time. But so it does help that she can have her passion, and then she helps with my passion, and it's become her passion. It's a family business. It really is. Like just at Oktoberfest, one of our guys got kidney stones Friday night at 3 a.m. He had to go to the hospital, and the stage was like half set up for the Brush Oktoberfest, and so I was on the East Coast at a show.
You were here, huh?
No, and so I woke up and I'm like, oh shit, Ron's in I knew it was pretty close, but we were short a guy. And so right about then, Chelsea got the same text message from him. Like I said, we're kind of all a family. He had texted both of us like, hey, I'm in the hospital. Like, can you help? And she called me. She's like, what needs to happen in Brush? And I'm like, well, it's like 90% done. We just need this, and this. She's like, okay, I'm waking up the kids. We're going down there. And so I'm sure our teenage kids loved it, but she's like kicking them out of bed at 6, 7 in the morning. Yeah. Hey, we're going to Brush. Come set up a stage. We had another time that one of our, something got messed up with the stage, and it was in the middle of our daughter's 13-year-old birthday party. And so Chelsea's like, kids, you want to go to Denver and celebrate? They're like, yeah. We're like, first we got to tear the stage down, then we'll take you to Dave & Buster's. So they're like, these kids are wrapping cables and pulling down speakers, and we're like, good job, happy birthday, let's go to Dave & Buster's. So
that's funny.
Anyway, it is, yeah, it's a fun life.
That's great. So I want to go back to where you were talking about Dan coming on board. Mm-hmm. So Dan comes on board because obviously you guys want to grow and scale this thing. What vision do you have for AnywhereCam? Yeah,
well, our plan is to be the leader in remote location surveillance products nationwide and hopefully worldwide. Ironically, the rest of the world already has some similar products. The U.S. is pretty new to that, these remote area surveillance cameras. But we want that, and also one thing we're working on is our phase 2 of AnywhereCam, which is actually when there's all these cameras in these remote locations. That's wonderful. We want to sell hundreds of thousands and millions of cameras, which will make the business very successful. But what that also does is has kind of a side added value that then there's video content being recorded from all of these remote locations, which is a really cool addition to something that it wasn't even something I thought of until recently. We came up with this idea of well, that's a really cool phase 2 for this company. So that's what we're excited about, is to see where it can go. One thing we do want to do is we want to be able to help anybody have a surveillance camera to keep an eye on whatever's important to them, no matter where it's at. That's our goal. But we feel like there might be a hidden gem there of all this video content being created. I mean, you guys as media guys, how cool would that be to have? Well, we just had somebody the other day send in, they were keeping an eye on their camel that was having a baby camel, and I don't know what the term for that is. Maybe it's like a camelette or something, but they were having a baby camel, and then we had another person that sent me, they put it in their hunting blind in Arkansas, and he was just in the middle of the night seeing where the path and the schedule of the deer and elk coming across. And
that'd be pretty cool. I guess you just hit it up to a tree and where's the deer? They're there. Let me just go hunt there.
This whole week they've been doing this. Okay, we'll go stand right there.
That's exactly what he was doing, and he sent it to me. And so sorry for all you animal lovers out there, but it's a good Bambi catcher.
A Bambi catcher, huh?
Yeah, it's a Bambi. Yeah.
That's good.
No, it's just I just think it'll be cool to have video content recorded in places that never have had the ability to have it, other than from a satellite Google Maps stuff, but in real time. That'll be cool. I think it's going to really add another level to the company, and I don't know what exactly that is yet, but Tesla, how they helped, from my understanding, how they created self-driving cars was they had a bunch of Teslas out there that were recording them being driven for hundreds of millions of hours. They took that and they sent it to probably an AI company or something. It was use all of this content to train cars how to drive themselves. So something like that is the bigger vision we have for AnywhereCam. But right now we're just branding our, honing our craft, making our name a household name. That's phase 1. But then phase 2 is something I feel like it's going to be something bigger and deeper that can really probably help out societies in somehow.
How do you get the creative juices flowing? Because all this thing, you're already. I feel like you're a visionary. You're already thinking this. How do you get the creative juices flowing to go that way?
I've just always kind of been a creative person. very first thing I did as a young adult was me and a couple guys from here in Fort Morgan started a punk rock band, and then we toured the world playing music. And so that always showed me, and from there I learned, man, I love to create, not just music. I do love creating music more than anything, but also creating everything from like a logo and just the creation of even like a tour. I would love to just like route a tour. Like I loved it. Just go up on a map and see like, all right, we can play a show here and there and that. And just, I guess, creating something, my biggest motivator is to create something that would not be created if you didn't do it. It doesn't have to be the biggest thing in the world. You don't have to change the world. But like your Inceptions Media logo, you created that.
Erick, I did.
I'm
not that creative.
That. and it, it's not the best logo in the world. It's not the worst logo in the world. But it would have not existed had you not put your foot forward and created it. And that's what I love is like, how can I create something? That's what I love about concerts so much is every time I'm at the soundboard listening to Ice Baby for the 4,000th time, and I'm like, can I please go to bed yet? And I'm like, wait, all these people, this moment in time will never be duplicated, ever. The 6-7 billion people in the world, whatever, and how 24 hours in every day for the rest of all of our lives. It will never be duplicated in that setting. And to me, that's just like completely more valuable than anything else tangible in this world.
That's huge. That reminds me of a Michael Jordan story.
Yeah.
Where he's going and they play like, how now you have a lot of people that take days off. Like
yeah.
they're not feeling that good. They're exhausted and they take days off in like NBA.
Yeah.
And he's like, somebody like has a blue collar job, works really hard, bought those tickets. Like, I can take a day off. Like, today's not one of them. Because they poured all their money to do that, and I have to perform. Yep. So that was Michael Jordan's, like, thought with it. And that's, like, what you're saying. Like with you, he's like, oh, like, I've heard it 4,000 times. Yeah. But for that person, that's probably the first time they heard him live.
Yeah.
So now, like...
just the energy and the moment in time that will never be duplicated. So... that's just a very, I guess, deep thought way of thinking about creation and why creating anything. I'm already excited. By no means am I, packing it in on AnywhereCam because we have a lot to do. But I'm excited of, like, what does that elevate me to be able to do next? I'm 40 years old. Hopefully I have a lot of life left in me. And so I look back to what we're talking about. Like, you learn the first million's hardest to make. You learn so much from what not to do from your previous failures. That's where I look at it with AnywhereCam. It's like, what could that turn into? And that's why I think maybe, hopefully, this video content might be the springboard of the next creation I have. But right now, like I said, we have so much work to do with AnywhereCam. It's so much harder than producing concerts. Oh my God, it's like, holy cow.
But do you like that drive? Like that,
yeah,
like that beginning hustle, because like you got to get after it when it's barely.
Yeah, I'm what do they say? Idle hands or the devil's playground. Not so much the devil's playground for me, but like idle hands I might not even have hands at that point. Like if I'm not like up against the wire is like the best time when I would do anything. I'm sure you guys know, like when you got a deadline to meet, you probably edit a lot faster than when you're like, well, this is due in 3 weeks.
Edit a lot faster, stay up all night.
Yeah. I read a book one time that said that if you're going along, you feel a little mundane, you're like, it was kind of an entrepreneur book. Like if you're trying to create something or get to the next level or whatever, and you're losing a little bit of the motivating factor, whatever it is, stay up all night like you used to when you very first started, and you had the more energy you can handle because you're so excited and passionate about whatever you're doing at the moment, and then you go along in life and you lose that for a little bit. It's only natural, but force yourself to stay up all night. Give yourself some ridiculous goal to meet. Be like, by 8 a.m., I'm going to have this done. Like, there's no way, because that's what it used to be like, and you were able to do it at the beginning. Now you're better at whatever you're trying to do. You should really be able to do it. And they said, do that. Force yourself to do that. So sometimes I feel like I sometimes create, maybe I'll like procrastinate
on purpose
to force that necessity factor, which always drives us on more.
So that adversity like that, where it's like go time, like we gotta go now. Like
I've done that a couple of times. It's like you hit a wall, and then after a certain while, you kind of start getting the flow, and then before you know it, you're like in the deep of it, and you're just going.
And you're super efficient and doing a better job and quicker. Yeah. So
I'm curious, like, where does that like entrepreneurship mindset come from? Because I don't know if it comes from your parents, from seeing someone older, seeing people online or anything. Because in college, you ended up dropping out, doing your band thing, and then creating Kinnon Entertainment, and then now creating AnywhereCam.
I think it's just a necessity. I dropped out of college. Let me set the record straight. I transferred from CSU to UNC. Crazy, I know. Nobody does that, right? I had a full ride scholarship. It transferred with me. They're probably like, this is weird. This is ass backwards. Why is he transferring to UNC? Not talking crap about UNC, but I was at CSU as a major university, full ride scholarship. I was going to go be a lawyer. It's going to be, awesome. Bro, I don't know. But, and then the band, which was way more exciting than going to class, started to take off. Well, the only way I could do that, we were all going to move to a house together in Greeley, so that, because one of the guys is still in high school here, so we're a little bit closer. It was cheaper to live in Greeley. A couple of the guys were already going to community college in Greeley, so we're like, we'll go to Greeley. We got this band house together. I was like, but I'm not going to give up on this full ride scholarship. That would be crazy. So I enroll in UNC, and I promptly get 1 credit the next semester. Is all I got. It was weightlifting was the only credit I got. I failed everything else because I was always like on the road, like partying in the band house, creating music, doing way more fun things than going to like economics or something. So I loved economics, but I didn't go to any class except for weightlifting. And that was just because I always loved working out. So I was like, I can get college credit for this. So I get 1 credit, and they're like, Mr. Blecha, our funds are better used with somebody that actually wants to go to college. So your scholarship has been revoked. And I'm like, oh, shit.
And so did you keep going or no? Or you're like,
no. Well, so
kind of like the push you needed to
I tried to still go. But at the time we had right then, I went to community college. And this all comes, I guess, full circle to my life, I feel, because I went to community college, and I took 1 community college at Ames. I took a sound audio engineer, like 101, the only sound class I've ever taken in my life. And I took it because I had a wealthy uncle that was actually part of the team that created the lunar module, the thing that went on the moon. And he was a single guy. He didn't have kids, and so he actually ended up being fairly wealthy. And he took all the money and put it into a fund that my grandparents managed, and it was to help so any Blecha could go to college. It would pay your tuition for an in-state school as long as you want to go to college. As long as you're actually actively in college, you would get a check. So I was like, well, I got to be in college, so I'm going to go to Ames Community College and I hope my grandma doesn't watch this. And take 1 class. And so I took this audio engineering class. So I was like, I already know how to I sort of knew how to do sound stuff. And so I was like, I did it. But that kind of opened my eyes to like, wow, there's like a whole science to this. You don't just turn it up or turn it down. Like there's a whole art to this. It's very, very, I guess, complicated. And I was like, oh, cool. So I got me into audio there. And then I failed out of that. Like I did that 1 class. And then the next semester, I tried to take some classes, and I was like, yeah, I'll just do this on the road. We're going to be driving in a van for hours on end. Well, that of course didn't happen. Like 19-year-old kids don't just like sit in the car and read their books. So I failed out of community college. I've never said this in one whole line. That's like downhill trajectory here. And at the same time, I found out the girl I was dating at the time was pregnant. So I'm 20 at this moment. I've got a knocked up girlfriend. I just got kicked out of community college, and I'm in a band that's not making any money. And so I was like, man, I got to get my shit together, because the focus and like my 4 best friends were in the band with me. And so I wasn't going to let them down by being like, guys, I got to quit because I got to go do like adult stuff. So I said, I got to figure out how to be really resourceful and efficient. And when I'm not doing the band, I need to like make a bunch of money and like do something in life. And so fast forward, I won't tell you all the boring details, but that was the start of me being, I guess, entrepreneurial, because I had to get really crafty with how I was going to make a living and how I was going to do anything, because then I was like, oh, I'm home for 3 weeks. I got to make enough money for 3 months. I have a kid on the way. I have all this stuff. was a stressful time, and so anything's, I guess, easy compared to my 20s.
If you could go back and tell something to your 20-year-old self, what would that advice be? Business or personal?
Ooh, that's tough. I would say, let me think real quick. Business or personal? Ooh, maybe I'll do one of each. Personal, I wish I would have always done what was best for maybe my kid more. Not that I feel like I didn't do what was best for him, but there's some things that go back and be like, dude, like, fortunately, my son and his mom, like, are great. And, you know, she really picked up a lot of things that I maybe was slacked on. I didn't know I was slacking at the time. It wasn't intentional, but I'd be like, dude, get your shit together. Like, you got a son. And I always feel like I was a good dad, but sometimes I wasn't a good co-parent at times. And that's a challenging thing for anybody that has that dynamic going on there. But there was some times that maybe I didn't think of that part of my life as first and foremost. But it was because I was always focused on business and the band. And so I think maybe a little bit more planning, like I was talking about earlier. Like, maybe I should have planned this out a little bit more and been less of a shoot first, aim second type of guy. I don't know.
What about business?
Yeah, that's just saying. Like, maybe I should have planned stuff more.
Oh, the planning part.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Not that I think it would have maybe helped my success, but I think it would have smoothed the road out a little bit, as opposed to just like, it's kind of like GPS. You know, like, you might get there like with a compass, but with GPS, you're probably gonna get there a lot more smoothly. And so I should have maybe. I've been really lucky, and relying on yourself, I think, is always the best person to bet on. You bet on yourself. At least you control your own destiny. But sometimes I winged it too much, or wung it. I don't know what the proper term is, but winged it too much. Mm-hmm. And it could have gone a different way many, many times, you know. But it goes back to, I've always tried to surround myself with really great people. Maybe not always the smartest or the best at their job or whatever, but really good people that were willing to take the wild ride with me. And so just because of my shoot first, aim second attitude during my 20s and 30s, now I'm like a little bit more planned.
Now it's like you kind of got to handle it. Yeah.
For sure. Well, there's a lot more things riding on it too. Like, when I was 23, I could fuck up and be like, oh, I'll figure it out tomorrow. As long as I had a couple bucks in my bank account, I'd figure it out. Now there's like, you know, other people relying on me, you know, both personally and business. And, you know, there's a lot of people riding on my decisions. So I can't I got to think of everyone.
Yeah. Well, Mike, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah.
We'll put all your links down in the description so people can go check you out, check out Kinnon Entertainment, go buy some AnywhereCams and all that stuff. But guys, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you guys on the next one.